Good evening, campers, it's me, Kieran. Today we're going to be talking about Shūzō Wadachi, also known as Blood on the Track. First of all, let me just explain how absolutely incredible this was. The mangaka Shūzō Oshimi has done something that literature very often struggles to do, which is to use very few little moving parts to propel a story. Within Shūzō Wadachi, we follow Sei and the relationship between his mother, and everything at the start feels normal, commonplace. There are the said rituals of asking if he wants a meat bun or a red bean bun for breakfast. She kisses him on the way to school. She greets him when she comes in. There's nothing really that stands out between these two characters, but not is all as it seems. Oshimi gives us information through flashbacks and via conversation to allow the reader to mar that relationship, with the recurring flashback of Sei and his mother touching a dead cat on the streets. And the most significant memory that changes the optics of this relationship is when Sei's cousin mentions that in preschool, Sei's mother was always in the class watching over him, which makes Sei's mum synonymous with the word overbearing, and that is used to ridicule her through the family. She will do almost anything for Sei, and what mum wouldn't? And it's going to take one mountain hike for everything to change and turn this into one of the best psychological dramas I have ever read. Shūzō Wadachi is akin to, and I do not use this comparison lightly, Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Oshimi, like Dostoevsky, gives us the details of the crime. We know exactly what has happened, but it's the punishment part. It is what Sei and his mother have to deal with after the crime that makes this just wonderful. The tension throughout this manga could be cut with a knife, but all you are going to feel is the knife point. But to explain the crime, and it happens very early on, is that Sei's mum pushes his cousin off a cliff for mocking that she's overbearing, and in order to protect Sei, decides to off the cousin. The cousin's body is found, he is lifted to hospital, and while he regains consciousness, there's the harsh reality that he might not be able to speak and he might be left in a paralytic state. When questioned what has happened to the cousin, Sei and his mum just agree that he fell off of his own accord, that he was messing around on the cliff's edge, which is true, but he fell out of his own stupidity. Sei's mum wasn't there to catch him in time. Obviously, dealing with this, there is turmoil, there is drama between the family as they're trying to separate Sei and his mother, but the mum has such an overbearing presence throughout this that it is just chilling. The character of the mum is so well developed and so well defined that even on the page she doesn't even have to do anything in order for your heart to start sinking for Sei. Also, Sei is a teenager. He's not the most popular kid in class. He's bullied, but he's trying to understand where he fits within society, and therefore, like all teenagers, relationships are to blossom, and he and his classmate Yuko decide to have a relationship. But as Yuko and Sei get closer, the mum feels as though their relationship is being strained, and throughout that you can just feel the sinews snapping as that relationship begins to sever. The mum is just the epitome of manipulator. The amount of gaslighting that occurs throughout is absolutely incredible. I think I know the crux of why this story has worked so well, and as a piece of literature showcases the efficiency of plot. Everything in the story is open information. You know everything that occurs, but as we are channeled through Sei, as he begins to doubt, as he begins to believe what his mum is telling him and changing facts, even as a reader you fall under the spell of the mother and begin to doubt Sei and his information, which is the information that we have. But this story just gets under your skin. A few scenes that maybe just go, oh no, like we can't be going there, is definitely the dirty scene where the mum confronts Sei, like, oh, my heart sank. And this face and the scene that surrounds us, where you know that Sei is never going to be the same. And as we see him later on within his 30s and how he's trying to deal with that relationship and the actions that have occurred. Wonderful. This was wonderful. I absolutely loved this. I could talk about this book for ages, but I'm aware that it's ongoing, and it really like upsets me that I got to the bit where he meets his mum again and pays for the rent. And I was like, wait, but I need to know like what happens like now, but it's still ongoing. So now I have to wait. But I can't see this verging off incredible. There was that one scene where it's the dream sequence, where it's not really a dream sequence, but he thinks it's a dream sequence, but it wasn't. That kind of lost me a little bit. I can see why it was needed to change the optics of this story and to add an extra layer of depth to characters that are just so well presented, well executed, and absolutely gorgeous to hate. That mum, I can't tell you how much I've hated a character, but I don't want to say anything because that smile, that stare, that was enough to make the hairs on my neck stand up. Absolutely incredible. Almost flawless. 9 out of 10.